the opening of the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 1939, Cooperstown became the home of baseball history. But was it also the home of the game itself? In 1905, A.G. Spalding set out to prove that baseball was indeed of American origin. His counterpoint in this debate actually worked for him.
Henry Chadwick was an immigrant from England. He was really America's first sports writer. He fell in love with the game of baseball and began covering it. He was the guy who invented the box score. Chadwick also became editor for Spalding's Baseball Guide. In the guide, Chadwick wrote something to the effect that, well, you know, baseball's a wonderful game, too bad it's not American. He's basically saying that baseball came from town ball, which was a game played after town meetings in America, and that town ball was a derivative of rounders, game in England.
So, in 1905, Spalding created the Mills Commission, whose mission was to prove Chadwick wrong. But Spalding didn't exactly play fair.
When Spalding decided to finally put together a commission to get to the bottom of this mystery of where did baseball come from, he didn't invite the people who were of the Rounders camp. He had actually done some pre-screening with the commission, and the people on there were the ones who were already predisposed to the idea that baseball was going to have an American, quote-unquote, dad.
Still, the commission found no hard evidence to support Spalding's claim. And then, a man named Abner Graves told a story about a Civil War hero in a remote part of New York State inventing a new game.
Graves had been raised as a young kid in Cooperstown, New York. He said that he remembered that a man by the name of Abner Doubleday had sketched a diamond in the dirt, put down the rules for baseball as we play it today.
Now the batter is on the offensive and wants to capture each one of your bases.
The Graves story just fell into their lap, with Abner Doubleday being a well-known Army general. How better could it be than to have Doubleday be the inventor of the game, because he was that hero, and not only that, he was dead, so he couldn't refute it.
But not all the claims presented by Graves added up.
He said that they were boyhood friends. Not really true. Graves was about 4 years old when this took place, and Doubleday was about 19. Also, there's the question of what year did it come out. He said he remembered it was during the Harrison campaign. They concluded that it must have been 1839, and so that was the date that was picked. And then they asked, well, where exactly in Cooperstown? And he named about 3 different locations, one of which was called the Finney Field, and that's where Doubleday Field is located today. So that was the evidence up to that time, and that starts what's known as the Doubleday myth, that baseball was invented in Cooperstown, New York, in 1839.
But I tell you, Graves, I know it will be a good game.
So Spalding now had the Doubleday myth, but he still needed Mills and his commission to legitimize it. And it wasn't long until Mills himself took pen in hand.
Finally, A.G. Mills, just one of the members of the commission, did in fact respond, and it's his words that are now known today. According to what you've told me, as best as we can tell, baseball was invented in Cooperstown in 1839.
Abner Doubleday gets more credit than he deserves because of this Mills Commission that comes out in 1908 in the Spalding Baseball Guide that says Doubleday's the man. He's the guy who did it.
No one truly believes the Doubleday myth anymore, but every good story needs an opening chapter, and this one fits.
Even though the myth of Abner Doubleday has been exposed as just that, it doesn't mean that it's not an important part of baseball history. You can't have Christmas without Santa Claus. You can't have Easter without the Easter Bunny. Myth is a very important part of any form of history and should be understood for what it is.
You know, myths tell us in some ways more about a culture and a people than the actual fact of things. Albert Goodwill Spalding, emphasis on the middle name, decided to perpetuate this preposterous myth that Abner Doubleday invented baseball in Cooperstown, New York. But we all bought into it, and what we bought into was a dream of an idyllic pastoral beginnings to the most perfect game there ever is, baseball.
Weekdays, lead off the day with Hot Stove at 9 a.m. Eastern. Then catch High Heat at 1 p.m. At 2, Brian Kenny hosts MLB Now. Then at 5, it's Intentional Talk, followed by MLB Tonight at 5:30, only on MLB Network.
After Advil.
Let's dive in.
But what about your back?
It's fun!